This is officially the first episode of the Voices of COVID-19. I'm your host, Krista Monk. The whole reason why this podcast officially exists now is because of a Facebook grant the WLB was given because of coronavirus and how we play a role in our community. So Facebook offered us money to do something digitally to reach out to our community so that way we can, get a perspective on how people are handling it and also just spread more information about coronavirus and what officials are telling us.
Yes. And those recovery efforts too.
Exactly. And how the community is bouncing back from this. And today I'm joined by Scott Steiner. He is the CEO of the Phoebe Putney Health System. Now, I know obviously everybody's looking for an end to COVID-19. We want to wrap this up. I know that there are at least 2 vaccines that are in the final stages of trial. Is Phoebe prepared for if vaccines finally do get released this year?
That's a great question. So the answer is yes, and we continue to. We are going to start with our influenza vaccine, the normal flu shot that we have coming in. We normally vaccinate all of our employees. Certainly our patients can get it in the physician offices, but we vaccinate our employees over a 2 or 3 month period. And we've challenged the team to automate it, streamline it, so we can vaccinate 4,500 employees in 7 days. And we're going to do that here in just 2 weeks. The goal is that we can break the system so we can learn from it. So when the COVID vaccine is ready, we know how to do it. We know how to do it quickly. We've signed up to be a super vaccinator site with the state.
Oh, wow.
And there's some criteria there that they're still developing that we'll go through. So we take it seriously, our role in healthcare in the community, to partner with area physicians, to partner with other healthcare organizations, to partner with the health department. But when that vaccine is ready, when the COVID vaccine is ready, and most likely it's going to be a 2-part vaccine, 26 to 28 days apart, we're going to be ready to produce, to distribute that, to vaccinate on a large-scale event for our community here in Southwest Georgia. So we're doing a dry run with the normal influenza vaccine on our staff and take what usually takes us, 12 weeks. We're going to do it in 7 days. So we're getting ready. We're in training camp.
I love to hear that. Now I have to ask, if the FDA does indeed approve a vaccine, will you be getting one?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you touched on the fact that there's been obviously plenty of controversy over the coronavirus. What would you say to the people who claim that hospitals are bolstering COVID-19 patient numbers in order to get additional funding from the government?
Yeah. Well, they should. CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, that's who hospitals get paid for. It's the federal government, right? That they should go find and publish what those payments are. Those are all completely false. Treating COVID patients does not pay extra. We've heard that if somebody dies in a hospital, the hospital gets a bonus. Of course we don't. We get paid on it's called a DRG, and I get paid for the same amount of money for that COVID patient, whether you stay for 2 or 3 days, as if somebody stays for 60 or 70 days. I get the same amount of money. It's called a DRG. So if they can produce that treating COVID patients is a financial boon, I'd love to see it, because the facts are that they're not.
Right.
And in reality, I don't think you're going to find one hospital in the United States that says we want COVID patients to keep coming. Right? It's completely false.
Gotcha. Today, I'm speaking with Nick Harden, the owner of Big Nick's down in Valdosta, Georgia.
We are a barbecue, soul food, and wings, family-owned restaurant here in Valdosta.
I have to imagine COVID-19 has had a massive impact on your business. What has it been like for you?
Definitely. So it's been, and let me tell you, it has been good and bad. Okay, so, and I say that because a when it first started, the pandemic, we were fortunate, a little bit more fortunate than some of our counterparts in the restaurant industry here in Valdosta, because we had a pickup window. And so when all of the restrictions and everything came out, at first we took a real big hit that first couple weeks, but then we got creative, and we started doing family meals and different things, for folks to pick up through our pickup window. And, we closed our lobby. So we were doing pretty good. We were actually able to survive throughout, and I didn't have to lay off any of my employees, actually, at that time. And we just, transferred all of our servers and everybody to cashiers and, prep and all that good stuff. So we kind of just changed our way of operating, and from there, we were doing pretty good. But then, of course, then stricter guidelines came out, so we had to hone back a little bit more, as far as, serving customers and what have you. And then, of course, the governor, he allowed, restaurants to open back up again. Yeah. And so that's when we actually, we tried to do a little bit of that. And then I got sick, personally. Like I contracted COVID and got infected, and my wife and several other folks here in the restaurant. And that was in June, the beginning of June, and that took us on a roller coaster ride. I mean, we really we had to shut our whole business down. We ended up I started feeling kind of bad that day, and I hadn't gotten any results back, but it was probably about 6 o'clock in the evening, and all of a sudden I just felt so tired. I felt like really, 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 really tired, and it was like it hit my body within like 20, 30 minutes, and I had a meeting with my partner, and we were about to sit down and talk, and then I said, you know what, I'm gonna sit on this side, I'm gonna sit over here because I just don't feel well. Mm-hmm. And from there, I'm sitting there, and when I tell you, it's like a Mack truck just hit me. Like, I just started getting cold. I was sweating, but I was cold. Then, I had chills. It was just crazy. And that was all within like 30, 45 minutes. Yeah. And I got up, and I came back towards my office to, I was like, hey guys, I gotta go. So I went home, and then I was good, well, not good, but I was okay. I thought I was gonna be able to just, tough it out, for the several days. But 9 days later, I'm still sick, and I'm about to take a shower, get out, and I guess I got overheated. I'm so hot that, I literally had to lay on the bathroom floor, put my head against the commode, because that's the coolest thing that was in that room, right. And try to calm myself down, because I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was I felt bad, and my wife was not there. She was out getting medicine and what have you, and it was crazy. So I had to call the doctor at this point, and I had to text my doctor because I couldn't talk. Text my doctor, and she said, come on down to the ER, and that's how I ended up down at the emergency room.
I am joined with Major Richard McCorkle with the Americus Police Department. So I know some police departments have dealt with people who have, obviously been agitated when they were being taken into custody, and may have even said, I have COVID-19, or even spit on the officers. Have you guys seen any of that?
Yes. We've had a couple of occasions where people were either COVID positive and tried to spit on the police officers, or told us they were COVID positive to create that distance with the officers when perhaps they were or were not. We really couldn't tell at the time. Right. But, you would err on the side of caution when somebody told you they were COVID positive. But, our call volume went way down during the initial phases of this. People just weren't calling the police. The curfew, when we put the curfew into effect, I bet we've seen a 50 to 60% reduction in calls. Wow. For a short period of time. And then it picked back up. We were dealing with certain things, though, because, they were mandating gatherings. Yeah. And that worked for just a short period of time. Then we started having house parties and, things like that we were having to deal with. But that kind of, evened itself out. And then when the governor came in and put the state mandates out, that superseded the local mandates. That kind of changed the dynamics of it too.
Yeah. So when you guys, when somebody does say, I have COVID-19, or they do spit on officers, are there charges that come with that?
We have charged people. I know of one case where we had to charge somebody with public endangerment for spitting at police officers when they were COVID positive. Of course, another thing we had to deal with is the county jail.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the county jail just pretty much released a certain percentage of inmates that were either being held under misdemeanor charges, or if we brought somebody down there, of course, they were going through, the county jail was doing what they, was mandated to check temperatures and, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So, we would pick people up on felony warrants and get them to the door of the county jail, and jail said that we ain't going to take them.
Oh, wow.
So we did have an increase of the amount of people that probably should be incarcerated just walking around. Now, it did not correlate at the time to an increase in crime at the time. So, you would kind of think if you're fixing to let out a bunch of people that are being held on some charges such as entering autos or burglaries and stuff like that, and they're fixing to put them out in bulk, that we would see a quick increase in property crimes, but we didn't at the time. I look at, and I don't know if you've got access to this, but you can actually go to an app and do the officer down page. And in the officer down page, which a lot of us have this, officers throughout the country have this available to them. Every time an officer dies in the line of duty, it shows up on this page, and it has 3 criteria: gunfire, automobile accidents, and other.
Right.
And usually your other can be anything from somebody having a heart attack while training. That could fall into the other category. And I looked at it this morning. I check it every morning, and there's been a 221% increase in officers dying from other compared to last year at the same time.
Wow. And
as of, and the last one that popped up on here, and let's see here, it is going to be, this popped up this morning. Officer down page, I go over here, and Sergeant Charles Norton, Richmond County Sheriff's Department in Augusta, Georgia, died Sunday evening from COVID. He'd been with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office 22 years, and he died from COVID. So those are just some things, and we see this every day. So when you look at that, when you scroll this page right here, and you just kind of go down this list of people, let's see, this second lady dies from COVID. I had another one die Saturday from COVID. I have she was out of Florida, have a corrections officer in Texas that dies. Got a detective over in Fresno County, California, who has died. So, I mean, you see this every day when you come in. You see officers that look like you or the same uniform as you, and they're not dying from car wrecks. They're not dying from gunfire. They're dying from COVID, and it scrolls on your page every day.
I'm joined by Crisp County Sheriff Billy Hancock. Has there been a moment when something happened and you just thought, are we going to make it through this?
Yeah, I would probably, that gets a little into the personal side is the tragedy that's happened in my life in the last 90 days or so. I've just wondered sometimes, when does this change? When does this that we see as what is normal to us now, when do we go back to, if I want to go on a trip or if I want to go somewhere, just getting in the car and going, or when do I go and go have dinner out one night at a restaurant and enjoy speaking to my friends and people that I know? When are all those things going to change? And that makes you wonder sometimes: are we going to be able to get through this? What do we lean on? Where do we go to get that inner strength to make sure that we stay positive every day and we want to get up and go out and go in our society and go in our world?
Yeah. Now, how has it been trying to deal with your personal life and your family and all of that, while also trying to manage COVID-19 and be a first responder for your community?
In the very beginning, you had concern because you certainly didn't want to go out and bring anything into your home that could affect your family that's living there with you. And then you don't want to bring anything back to your coworkers. I think all of us in this field, I talked yesterday to some of my coworkers, and those people that are here on this team with me, and that's one of our biggest concerns is, I don't want to be the one that is the trigger point for somebody else to get sick and be hospitalized, because a person in the hospital or a person quarantined now, it's different. We can't go see our loved ones in the hospital. We can't go visit those people. So I worry about their well-being, their mental stability of being alone in that situation. So that puts it back on me. Am I doing everything that I can? Am I washing my hands? Am I wearing my mask? Cleaning my clothes properly to make sure that I don't expose somebody else to COVID-19.
Have you noticed people struggling, having to deal with not being able to see their loved ones in the hospital?
Well, absolutely. I don't know how much you know, but my wife passed away the last week of June, or July the 2nd, and it was not COVID related, but it was unexpected health issue and she was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and I was not allowed to go in and see her. When you've been with somebody that's been married for 35 years and they're sick and that they're having issues, and you can't go in there and be by that loved one or give them the support they need, then it changes you as an individual. Your emotions are all over the place. Fortunately for me, I had this family here that wear a badge, and it's not just the sheriff's office, it's anybody across this great state of ours that wear a badge and a uniform or ride an ambulance or a fire truck that are public safety individuals, that I have a big concern and feel for them, because we know as individuals what's happening. We see the dark side of this, and then when you're thrust in there as a human being and a civilian to have to deal with that dark side, it is very emotional.
Yeah. You mentioned your wife. Were you able to go be in the room with her anywhere towards the end there?
I was. The last 24 hours, I was allowed to go in the room there as time drew near for her, and that was the only time. That's the only time the hospital allows you in there. When they say death is imminent, they opened up the room for you to go in, and then it was limited. It wasn't, continuously there, and to go in you had to be in a gown and a mask and booties over your shoes. So had she been conscious, the scene that she would have had would have been so much different than what she was accustomed to and seeing me, and just as mine was to her, because of the nursing staff and the equipment and things that were in there.
This morning, I'm joined by Patricia Vickers. She lives in Douglas, and she lost her husband to COVID-19 earlier this year.
Jesse passed away April 6, 2020. One morning, it was on a Thursday morning, I won't forget it. I asked him how did he feel, and he said, I don't feel. Well, Wednesday night, he was complaining about he didn't feel good. And I said, well, let's go to the emergency room. He said, no, he always uses this phrase, I'm a veteran. I can handle it. So that was always his phrase. And he said, if I don't feel any better tomorrow, I'll go. So I said, okay. Well, we woke up Thursday morning, and I asked him, I said, how you feel? He said, I'm ready to go. And I said, okay. I said, get your clothes on, and we'll drive over to the hospital, to the emergency room. And we drove over to the hospital, and when we got there, they took his temperature. They had him to sit down, and they started to take his vital signs, blood pressure and everything. And they said, well, your temp is kind of high, Mr. Vickers. We're going to admit you and check you out. So as they were beginning to roll him, I was starting to walk with him. And they said, no, you can't come in. And I'm like, huh? And they said, no, you're not going to be able to come with him. And I'm like, why? They said, we'll be in touch with you. We'll let you know. Well, by this time, I'm still not really knowing anything about it being the coronavirus.
Right.
I was thinking maybe his blood pressure was maybe up, and I don't know. I really didn't know what to think. So I said, okay. I said, baby, I'll be back for you. They're going to call me and let me know when I can come back for you. Well, he's gone in the hospital before, and I was able to stay with him, and for a couple of days we were back home. So I'm assuming a couple of days or a day or two, I'm going to come back and get my husband.
Right.
Well, about 2 hours later, I said, I need to check on him because nobody called me. So I called his cell phone, and I said, hey, I said, what's going on? He said, I feel a lot better. I feel better. He said, the room that I have is right on the front, and I can see every car that comes in the front entrance. So I said, oh. He said, why don't you drive over here, and I can talk to you at the window, through my window, and we can talk on our cell phone. So I said, okay. So I rushed right over to the hospital, and I won't forget it. He was about the fourth room over on the third floor, and he was waving. And he said, look, I'm up here. We were on the cell phones. He said, look, I'm right here. And I saw his hand, and we were talking, and he was laughing. He's always been a joyous person. Had a lot of spunk. He was just hilarious. Just a good person to be around. So we laughed. He always made me laugh. So he said, you okay? I said, I'm good. I said, you okay? He said, yeah, I'm good. Well, the guys were cutting the grass there. So I said, Jesse, I said, I'm going to have to move. I said, because they're cutting the grass. So when I get back home, I'll call you. I said, well, never mind. I could continue to talk with you because the phone would connect in the car when I got in the car. So I talked to him all the way back home.
Right.
So when I got home, he said, well, I'm going to have to get off now because they coming in to check me or whatever they do. So I said, okay. I said, you call me back when they're done. Well, he didn't call back. So I called back, and I said, how's Jesse doing? And they said, we're getting ready to put him on the ventilator. I said, the ventilator? I said, no, what is this all about? And I said, let me speak to my husband, please. And they said, okay. And I said, Jesse, I said, you know who this is? He said, yeah, this is Pat. I said, they said they're going to put you on the ventilator. I said, did you authorize that? So he said, yeah, I authorized it, baby. I authorized it. I'm going to be fine. So I said, okay. I said, well, what does the ventilator do? Because I was not familiar with these procedures because it was new to everybody else. It was new to me, too. So he said, it's just going to help me breathe a little easier. So I said, okay. I said, if you authorized it, then if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. I said, so I'll call later and check on you again. Well, I called, and they said that he was doing a little better, and his oxygen level had gone up a little, and he's resting peacefully. So I said, okay. Well, later on that day, I got another phone call, and they said that he wasn't doing too good, and his doctor said that he had spoken to another doctor over in Savannah, that they had a treatment that they wanted to try on Jesse. And his doctor and Jesse was kind of close because they were always joking and laughing, and I would sit out there in the lobby waiting on him to come from the back, and I said, I can hear y'all back there laughing. That's why your appointment takes so long. So we laughed about it.
Yeah.
So they were pretty good friends. So he said, Miss Vickers, he said, we're gonna move Jesse, transport Jesse over to Savannah. He said, because my friend and I, another doctor, we have a treatment that we think is gonna work for Jesse. He said, how do you feel about that? I said, whatever you think is best, that's what you do. I said, just keep my husband alive. I said, because I need my husband. He said, I'm going to do everything in my power to do. So he said, I'm going to call you back in a little bit with all the info. and let you know how we're going to do it and what we're going to do. He said, so just stay by the phone. So I said, okay, I will. So about 45 minutes to an hour later, he called me back. He said, we're going to transport him, and guess what? I said, what? He said, he's going to go in style. He said, he's not going in the ambulance. I'm going to fly him in the helicopter over there. So I said, okay, and we laughed about it. I said, look at it. I said, going in the helicopter. That's what I'm talking about, going in style. So we laughed it off, and he said, now, the only thing about it, he said, you can come out to the hospital and watch him go up. He said, but you can't come beyond the rope because it's one of our rules that we can't allow. So I said, okay. So he called me back and he said, you can head on over. So I said, okay. So I got over to the hospital, and my neighbor, next door neighbor, who's been taking really good care of me, her name is Regina Wilson. She and her brother, they rode to the hospital. We went in separate cars. So a young man, a gentleman went to her car first and said, you Miss Vickers? He said, no, that's Miss Vickers in the black car. So he came over, he said, Miss Vickers? I said, yes. He said, my name is so-and-so and so. He said, I work security at the hospital. He said, guess what? I said, what? He said, they're going to suit you up from head to toe so you can come over here and see your husband before we load him on the helicopter. I said, oh, that's good. He said, yes. He said, a nurse is going to come over here and help you get everything on. And when they roll Jessie out the door to the helicopter, they're going to beg for you all to come over. So I said, okay. Well, they brought him out. I can see them rolling him out, and he was like right near the helicopter. And they waved their hand first to come, and she said, come on, Miss Vickers. Very nice nurse. She said, come on, Miss Vickers. They're asking for us now. So I got over there, and he was heavy sedated. So he didn't talk to me, and because they had him really sedated for the travel. And I asked him if I can kiss him on his forehead, and they said, yes, it's okay, you can kiss him. And I held his hand, and I'm talking to him, and I'm saying, you're going to be okay. And I said, these are really good people. They're going to take good care of you. And I said, I'm going to see you really, really soon. And I just looked at him, and he looked so peaceful, and he had swollen a little bit. He was a little swollen. And I asked the doctor, I said, are you going? He said, oh, yes, I'm going with him. He said, I'm going to travel with him. So I said, well, let me stand back and let you all go ahead on and load him on. He's taking a turn for the worse. He's taking a turn for the worse. And his organs are shutting down. His kidneys are shutting down, and his lungs are collapsing. And he's not gonna make it. So I said, well, you know what? I appreciate everything that you have done for him. I said, I thank every nurse and every doctor. I said, I pray blessings over your families and your home. I said, I appreciate everything that you did for Jesse, and I'm sure he appreciates it as well. He said, now, what do you want us to do? I said, I don't want you to beat him in the chest to try to revive him. I don't want you to put sharp treatment on him. I said, it's time for him to rest.
I couldn't have gotten this far without you guys. So I do want to say thank you to the audience for listening and making this podcast as successful as it has been. And of course, giving me your voices. So as we head into the new year and we're looking forward to a vaccine, I'm looking forward to diving into what's next for COVID-19 and of course, all of you. So I hope